So I would like to start off by saying good morning to everyone, and what a pleasure it is to take part in this conference and see the fruits of your work, the visions that can be achieved, and they can be achieved in this unmistakably hyper-contested and divided and wacky environment, which I, as a Jerusalemite, love, Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, and El-Quds. I'd like to first congratulate the residents, the planners, the urban scholars that participated in this remarkable project, building visions for the future of Jerusalem, a bottom-up approach. And the emphasis here is on bottom-up. That is, this is not to say or to put aside, and I think the comment before to Avner, we're not saying that there is no occupation in this city. Given this situation, the challenge to make a difference, to think how we can make a difference, I think that was the point of departure for Avner's talk, and this is, I think, the essence of this project. So I'd like to thank all the participants for advancing our understanding of the important relationship between space, community, and infrastructure, and between public participation, management, and planning. Now, I'm the chair of the Institute of Urban and Regional Studies here at the Hebrew University, and my first mission is basically to train and to educate the next generation of planners in this country. You know, easy task. But planning is first of all about people, about listening to people's needs, to listening to people's values and ideologies, and trying to provide shape to these ideas. Planning, you cannot be engaged in planning without being optimistic. And you have to be optimistic in a city like this, which is extremely, I love English, it's challenging. There's no problems, but it's a problematic situation. And so we must be optimistic when facing these immense challenges. We must be passionate about the desire to make a change in this place. Having said that, there is always, and that's, I think, your comment, there's always a dark side to planning. There's always misuse of power, whether at the national level or at the city level. We can't put that under the carpet. And this misuse of power can actually deepen division, can deepen inequalities, exclusion, and marginalization. And we must be aware, and planners must be aware of their power, even in these situations, not to worsen sometimes the already impossible situations of residents in their own cities who are sometimes find themselves illegal in a very paradoxical situation. So thinking about infrastructure more specifically, infrastructure in many respects provides the physical foundations of urban environments. Infrastructure is the grid which enables us to use space, to travel from places, to feel secure, to enjoy services. Basically, infrastructure allows us to live. And yet, the problems of infrastructure are so complex. They represent both external and internal challenges, ranging from statutory challenges, organizational challenges, financial challenges, maintenance, and behavioral. Now, despite the complex situation of inequalities between the different parts of the city, the marginalization, the neglect, this situation still allows us various degrees of actions. Looking at some of the posters, and I have had the opportunity to look at all the posters, which you can take a look at later on today, the posters are inspiring. They enable us to compare the before and after the vision, an intervention in a micro scale, but to make a substantial difference. In some ways, this work is another step in a very long journey for advancing policy change towards greater involvement at the micro level, bottom-up intervention of residents, improving our own lives, making a difference not through elections or participation in elections, which sometimes is impossible, but through intervention, day-to-day interventions. Now, these actions, I have to say, are not and cannot be replacements for true massive investments by the government. That is, improving public transportation for real, not as a show-off, but for real, for investments in roads, sidewalks, street lights, waste collection, fixing drainings, improving electricity grid, and building playgrounds and neighborhood parks. Playgrounds and parks are so simple, yet so meaningful for the everyday life of children in their environments. But these actions can improve our lives, our feelings of connection, belonging to communities. My own work and research that has looked in recent years in the nexus between urban planning and community actions in the wider context of urban redevelopment, both in Israel but also in North America, more specifically in the city of Toronto, which was mentioned here earlier, has looked at community benefit agreements. Looking at community benefit agreements, that is, what communities can gain from projects of redevelopment. Whether these are being part of employment, new training opportunities, providing them new kindergartens, new schools, new urban parks. These are some of the benefits that could be gained through agreements on redevelopment of specific areas. Now, looking at Jerusalem as a whole, not even talking specifically about East Jerusalem, Jerusalem is going through massive urban redevelopment. And I'm mentioning this because this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to look at the neighborhood scale, at the community scale, asking what the communities need and reaching these community benefit agreements, deals for the communities to improve the daily lives, the immediate daily lives of communities. I have 5 minutes, so when reading the results of the surveys, the mapping of the local needs, looking at the posters, reading the policy papers, it is clear that, as Nufal mentioned, infrastructure is not merely a technical issue. It should not be regarded as a technical issue. So-called soft measures of intervention can and do make a difference. One simple example are public spaces. Public space provides the foundations for social interactions, for encounters, the simple but essential infrastructure to build social ties, a space of both recreation, public health, and political space. Two examples of amazing accidents, planning accidents in Jerusalem. One is the Valley of the Deer near Bet Safafa, and the other is the rail park, which we are so lucky to have had these accidents, which have brought together people who meet on a daily basis, jogging or walking or entering neighborhoods that they were otherwise never go into because they are afraid of the unknown, of the others. And suddenly they meet and talk and have walking clubs together and see that there could be conversations and meetings. I want to give you a third example of a planned area, which in my research I was kind of surprised to, in the interviews, I was surprised to hear from the different groups of neighborhoods that was their preferred public space. The most neutral ground in Jerusalem is the Jerusalem Zoo. So the zoo is where everyone can feel welcomed, unjudged. All the humans are the others, in that sense. My kids love going to the zoo. And in the zoo, you can see kids which dress differently, which speak different languages. They play together in the sand. They run after each other in the gardens there. The differences are undetachable. Okay. So I think we should further explore how basically we can empower and provide communities the means for greater community action, for increasing collaborations between residents and communities, for building trust. Trust is a key word here. All of these would lead and can lead to physical change, but also to profound, I believe, social change. So to conclude, I would like to congratulate you again for this important project, to thank Nufal and Tarek and Dani and all the residents who have taken part in this project. Thank you so much.